Welcome to the Dimensions CM Event Triggers Getting Started video. Event triggers are a very powerful mechanism for extending Dimensions functionality and are built and deployed at the server end. In this demo we will look at how you can build, install and test a trigger without writing a single line of code by utilizing one of the examples supplied. So the first thing we need to do on our Dimensions server is install a compiler that will allow us to build the triggers, and there are only certain compilers that can be used. So we would recommend you check the knowledge base and the Dimensions documentation for a list of those supported compilers. Once the compiler is installed, in this case we have Windows 2012, we just need to ensure that we start up the right compiler environment. Because I'm building for a 64-bit environment, we need to ensure that we have the x64 native compiler environment prompt up and running. So to test this, I just type CL, press return, and this tells me that I have my compiler for x64. This means it's a 64-bit compiler, which is great. The second piece of software we need to install is the make tool. This is simply an extension that you can download from the Serena support site. So we simply go to downloads, and then we select Dimensions CM. In this case I'm selecting 14104, clicking on Windows because I'm building on a Windows environment. Now if you scroll to the right under Release Bulletin, you will see that there is Dimensions make components. So I simply go ahead and I download the 64-bit make and install that. So just simply run the installer. Now I can just test to see if the DM make is running, but before I do that I just want to go to my Dimensions root installation. So I'm just going there now. So I've installed to the C drive, and within the Dimensions root there is a PCMS API examples directory. So if I go in there, I can see all the files are in place. I just want to test make, so I type dm underscore make -no -cm, press return, and this will generate some usage information. This indicates to me that the dm make is installed. So we are now good to go in installing our compiler. So to do this I need to specify the architecture I want to run, which in this case is Win64 VC 2010. Type is event. The event name itself is error MSG. This is a great event to build if you're ever testing a trigger. And this syntax that I'm using here is actually described at the beginning of the make run when I ran it with that simple no -cm parameter. So go ahead and build that. That's now been built. I'm now going to rerun the make again. However, this time I'm going to run it with the flag mbcs needed equals y. And when I run that, that will basically build me a multibyte version of the trigger. Multibyte is used when you are either using a non-Unicode Oracle database character set or the Microsoft SQL Server database architecture. So we can see that this has generated a directory which reflects the name of the architecture I was building against. If I go into there, we can see that it's generated the error MSG folder and some DLLs. So first thing I need to do is just stop the listener service. Let's go ahead and do that. Do take note that the listener service can take up to 2 minutes to stop. and we can see, if I just sort them by name, by type, we can see that 2 DLLs have been generated. We just need to rename up this DLL to be libpcmsu.dll. This is the Unicode DLL and this is the Multipoint DLL. Now we just need to ensure that we rename up the existing DLLs that are already in the prog directory of the installation. So within the prog directory, make sure we're sorting by name. We can see that libpcmsu.dll and libpcmsum.dll already exist. These are the DLLs we're going to swap out in order to be able to install our trigger functionality. So what I'm going to do is just simply rename them up in order to deactivate them and to keep a copy of the DLLs. It's important we keep a copy just in case we need to deactivate our trigger functionality. So we're going to go back into our PCMS API examples, error MSG directory. We'll take those 2 DLL files, go back into prog, and basically we're going to paste them in. So the files have now been copied into place. So we have the libpcmsu.dll and the libpcmsum.dll as well as the originals. So now we can go ahead and restart the listener. Now we can test the trigger. Now this error MSG trigger basically prevents any request action and returns an error message stating that the action cannot be performed. So let's go ahead and just try and action a request. Go ahead and finish. Here the trigger's kicked in and it's prevented the action, saying the action will be killed many times. So there we have it, a DimensionCM event trigger that has been built, installed and is now running within our DimensionCM system. To uninstall the trigger, we simply need to stop the listener service, or log out, and we need to basically rename up the existing DLLs. So we'll just do that very quickly. So I'll delete the original ones that were in place. We shall restart the listener. Log back in. Let's just try actioning that request again. And here we can see the request has now been actioned because the trigger is no longer activated. Please do take a look at the DimensionCM Getting Started tutorial documents, which is available on the knowledge base, for following these instructions and allowing you to set up your own trigger accompanying this video.